computer. And just give me 1 second to set it up, and then we'll be ready to go. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we can start. We can chant Jai Radhamadava first, or at least I can chant Jai Radhamadava. Okay, Jaya Radhamadhuva Kunya Bihati Jaya Radhamadhuva Kunya Bihati Gopi Jana Malaba Iri Baradhauri Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Baradhati Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihagati Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihagati Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Baradhati Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Baradhati Asunanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari. So, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya, also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shaima Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shivani Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prasthaya Budle. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Pacharni. Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Shatarni. So we are giving this class from Shidan Mayapur at 5 o'clock, 5:04 in the morning, Indian Standard Time. And so what I'd like to do is start with something new. And that something new is a class that I'd love to give, or I've wanted to give for some time. And this is a class on the Brahma Samhita, which has been translated by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And so we're going to give a class on it, comment on it, read it. And while we're here in Mayapur, and maybe we'll continue when we're at Govardhan. Anyway, I'm really excited to be giving this class. So let me share the screen so you can all read along with me as I comment. Okay. So let's share. Here we go. Share. Here we go. We are sharing our screen. There we go. That is very nice. Okay. Let me just move this windows away. Okay, I should move this whole thing around a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're not going through the introduction. The introduction by Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. English is so educated that most of you will not understand his English. But we're going to go through the verses and his purports. So we're going to begin with text 1. Somagana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So this text, of course, is probably the most famous text in the Brahma Samhita. Hold on a second, I'm trying to get this window closed. That's good, okay. There we go. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. And so the translation is as follows. Just still adjusting the windows. Okay, that's good. Ishvara means the controller. So actually I'm just going to do this free-form class as we're doing it. It's not a planned out class, so I'm just going to comment on things as we go along. So Ishvara is the controller. The problem with us is that we want to be the controller. In fact, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has this very interesting verse that Ishvara Hum Bogi, 16th chapter, Siddho Hum Balavan Sukhi. The consciousness of those who are enwrapped in Krishna's material energy is that they are considering themselves to be Ishvara, the controller. Ishvaraham, I am. Aham Bogi, the enjoyer. Siddhoham, I am perfect. Balavan, I am powerful or strong. Sukhi, I am happy. And actually, exactly the opposite things are happening right now. We are not the controller. Krishna is the controller. We can't control anything, although we make so many endeavors to control. We try to control our health, just like myself, for example. I have all these different supplements and everything, thinking I'm going to control my health, control my body. But basically, we can't even control whether we're going to sleep at night or whether we wake up in the middle of the night, or as far as, evacuation and all those other things we can't control. We can't control whether we're hungry. We can't control whether we're sick or not. I mean, we can endeavor a little bit, but ultimately, as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, there's 5 factors of action, and we can determine the other ones, like the body and the place, etc. But we cannot determine the super soul. We cannot control the super soul. So Krishna has a plan. And as Prabhupada's father would often say, Krishna has 10 arms. With 10 arms, he can take away everything. Or with 10 arms and 10 hands, he can give you everything. So really, Krishna is the controller. Ishvara Parama is the supreme controller. So, that doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing and wait for Krishna to do something because he's the controller. If Krishna wants me to be happy, Krishna wants me to be rich. Krishna wants me to be Krishna conscious. If Krishna wants me to be happy, if Krishna wants me to be healthy, no. You have to make some endeavor. As they say, man proposes, God disposes. I mean, the example I use sometimes is that people sometimes, devotees, so-called devotees sometimes, say they don't need to use seatbelts in the car because Krishna is the controller. If Krishna wants me to get hurt, I'll get hurt. And if Krishna doesn't want me to get hurt, I won't get hurt. Now, that's partially correct. But if you do not take adequate precautions, then you are denying Krishna's giving you the facility to protect yourself, and therefore you may not be protected in that particular circumstance. For example, if you're sleeping while you're driving, unless you have a Tesla self-driving car, then you're going to be responsible for the accident. You may be the greatest devotee in the three worlds, but it's going to be your foolishness. Just like Srila Prabhupada one time was told by a devotee about other devotees who'd gotten in a car accident and because they had been sleeping or whatever. And the devotee said to Prabhupada, it's Krishna's mercy. And Prabhupada said, no, it's their foolishness. So we have to do whatever is in our power to protect ourselves, to do things nicely for Krishna, not that we accept or want Krishna to be our servant. Anyway, so that's Ishvara Parama. Krishna's controlling everything. He's giving intelligence, Matak Smritir Jnanam Apovanam Cha. He's giving remembrance. He's giving forgetfulness. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshar Junatishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Vrudani Maya. That's another point. He's in everyone's heart and directing the wanderings of the material energy, especially the living entities who are seated as on a machine, and that machine is the material energy. So Ishvara Parama Krishna, Lord Krishna. And it's interesting that Lord Brahma is not stating Ishvara Parama. It's like Ishvara, not Ishvaraha. Ishvara Parama Vishnu. He's saying Ishvara Parama Krishna. That is Krishna, who is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's understanding that that particular manifestation of Godhead is the most complete understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even Lord Krishna, which is interesting, controls his various expansions. So even you can understand from this particular sentence here, Ishvara Parama Krishna, the first line of the verse, that Krishna actually controls all his expansions, such as Lord Balaram, Seish, Lord Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna. Krishna is actually the controller of all of his expansions, whether his expansions are Swamsa or Vivinamsa. What does that mean? Swamsa means Vishnu Tattva expansions, and Vivinamsa means us. Or his expansions are his energies, Shakti Tattvas. Krishna is the supreme Parama. There's no higher person. There is no higher person than Krishna, no higher controller than Krishna. And Sat Chit. Sat means eternal. That which nasato vijate bhavo nabhavo vijate sataha. Ubayar api trishno antas 20 sat tattvadarshvihi. This is described in Bhagavad Gita. That those things that continue to exist, they're considered real. So things that are eternal are real. Things that are non-eternal are considered not real, although they may have temporary existence, like a soap bubble has a temporary existence, but in one sense, it's unreal. It exists, But where is it now? So it's unreal. Just like I look at a picture of myself when I was young, and that body, or that manifestation of the body, because the body's changed, is unreal. Think about it. Because where is it now? If it was real, it would be here. And unfortunately, in my case, it is not here. So it is unreal. So this body that we're walking around with, or sitting in, or residing in, is unreal. Think about it for a second. Although we consider it to be so real, it is something we use for serving Krishna. But ultimately, it is asat. And so, anyway, but Krishna's existence, Krishna's body, Krishna's intelligence, everything in Krishna is advaya, non-dual. And it's always there. Never comes into existence, never ceases to exist. Okay, that's Sat. Chit, absolute knowledge. What does absolute knowledge mean? As Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, is the Supreme Personality of God. He knows everything, past, present, and future, but him, nobody else knows. Okay? So that's absolute knowledge. Every single nano particle or whatever in this universe, every single devotee, every single non-devotee, every single, what else is there? Single, plural, whatever. He knows absolutely, perfectly, all the time. Amazing. And then finally, Ananda. His body is absolute bliss. So when we talk about Krishna's body, but Krishna's body is not different from him. We described that before. So he's in absolute bliss. His body, which is non-different than him, his mind, which is non-different than him, is absolute bliss. It's very interesting. Sat Chit Ananda. Vigraha, whose form. But remember, the form is non-different. I'm repeating, I know that, but it's a very important point. The form is non-different than Krishna. Krishna is his form. The form is him. With us, our form is not us, and we are not our form. At least in the material world, we have a spiritual form that is also Satchidananda Vigraha. And that form is right now unrecognizable to us. And as we chant the holy names and purify our hearts, Cheto Darpanam Arshanam, then we can ultimately experience who we are, and our form, spiritual form, is non-different from us also. It's not that you go to the spiritual world and there's a closet there in which you pick your form. They just hung it up for you when you left the spiritual world, or for those who, which I do accept, for those who accept that we came from the spiritual world, or for those who don't accept, then you would actually go to the form body, the form factory, which is actually crazy. So actually that form is us. We have it. We're actually meant to be experiencing Satchidananda, but we're not. We're experiencing asat, temporary material existence, unreal stuff. We think our relationships are real. We think not only the body, we think, our car, my computer, which I'm so attached to, my watch, what I'm so attached to. We think they're all real. And we think we have, great knowledge. We're very proud of our knowledge. And we get so much bliss. Actually, the more I perform a devotional service, I don't know about the rest of you, the more I do experience bliss. And when I experience bliss, it makes me more humble, doesn't make me more proud, and it makes me more grateful to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we'd be experiencing Nirananda, which means the opposite of Ananda. Okay, so the Satchidananda Vigraha, Krishna has a body of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And we can't even, it's not even right to say that Krishna has a body. Krishna is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And He and His body and His mind and everything, I know I'm repeating, but it's an important point, are non-different from Him. So, we may say, just to explain this, that Krishna has a body of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, but it's not like Krishna possesses a body that's different than Himself. I say I have a body, but I say I am the spiritual form. Of course, right now I have a material body. Okay, third line. Anadi. That means without adi, without a beginning. Neglecting or negating beginning, without beginning. So Krishna exists. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor is there a time when I will cease to be. He's unborn, a primeval, etc. So Krishna always existed. Of course, He's beyond time. So when we talk about beginning or end, there is really no beginning or ending in the spiritual existence. There's a beginning and an ending when you have time factor, which is in the material world. But Krishna is beyond the material world. Krishna never touches the material energy. Even when He comes down to the material world, He brings the spiritual world with Him. He doesn't touch the material energy. When there's some desire of His to touch the material energy, then He expands Himself as Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Even Krishna in His other expansions doesn't touch the material energy. He glances as the Mahavishnu, and that glance, Aikshata, activates the material energy by planting within it, of course, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the glance, or Shambhu is the glance, who consorts with Maya, and places all the living entities, too, within the womb of the material energy, within Durga's womb. And so that's why we're here in the material world. But otherwise, Krishna, to talk about Krishna even having a beginning, what to speak without beginning, there's no question of beginning, middle, end, or anything when you're talking about Krishna and the spirit, or spiritual reality. And Krishna, of course, is the origin, of course, in Bhagavad Gita, famous verse, Aham sarvasya prabho matak sarvam pravartai iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhavat samavata. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Everything comes from Him. His energies come from Him. And we know from the Ishopanishad, Om Purna Ada Purnamidam, that the Supreme Personality of God is perfect. Everything comes from Him. And when everything comes from Him, He doesn't become less or changed. Because when everything comes from Him, He remains the complete whole, and everything that emanates is also fully holistic or complete in and of itself. So this is what the Ishopanishad teaches us. So even though He's the origin, he doesn't lose anything. Just like when I spend money, I'm the origin. Wish it was more money, It's like we're building a temple. So if I spend some money, money that people give me, then I have less money. When Krishna manifests the material world, it's not that he loses some weight because of that. Okay. And then Adir is the origin of everything. Govinda, Lord Govinda. Again, that word Govinda is used. And of course, Govinda means the pleaser of the cows, the pleaser of the senses, and refers specifically to Krishna in Vrindavan, not outside of Vrindavan. Govinda, because when Krishna goes to Dwarka, he's not a coward boy there. He doesn't act as a coward boy there. He acts as a great king, Kshatriya. Only when Krishna is in Vrindavan does he act as a coward boy. And actually sometimes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would do that too. So only in those locations. So Lord Brahma, in this particular verse, is realizing that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna's original abode is Braj. And then Sarva Karanam, Sarva means all, of all causes, he's the cause. So, in other words, we mentioned that before, that everything comes from Krishna. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. And we went through the Upanishad verse. All right, so that's the word-by-word synonyms. This is actually a lot of fun. Okay, translation. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has Supreme Godhead. Again, Ete Chanksa Kalakpumsa, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Sayam. He has the eternal blissful spiritual body. He's the origin of all, and he has no other origin. In other words, Krishna, again, is the origin of all the other incarnations, manifestations, expansions. And he is the prime cause of all causes. Okay, we describe that when going through the word-by-word synonyms. So, purport. By his divine grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Krishna is the exalted supreme entity having his eternal name, eternal form, eternal attribution, that means his qualities, and eternal pastimes. Pastimes means activities that he does voluntarily. I cannot say that I have pastimes. For example, pastime of getting old. Again, I'm harping on that. Or pastime getting sick. These are not pastimes. I'm forced to do certain things. And, my duties to the Supreme Personality of God, which I'm performing here in Srinam Mayapur, such as my GBC duties, these aren't pastimes. This is my service. Of course, I'm also choosing to do it. I'm also joyful in doing that. But pastimes are something different, and they're not eternal. I will not eternally be GBC. Hope not. I got other things I'd like to do, like preach. I'd like to eternally preach. That's another thing, like Narada Muni. So, we also have an eternal name, eternal form, eternal qualities, and eternal pastimes, which is interesting. However, Krishna is unlimited and we are limited. We have the same qualities as Krishna and a smaller quantity, very, very small quantity. Like Prabhupada said, the drop of ocean water compared to the whole ocean. The very name Krishna implies his love-attracting designation. So, a Krishna, sometimes that word is described, or Krishna's name is described by the Acharyas as Krish, means to attract, Like we find this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishigo Rakshivani Jan, Vaishya Karma Swabhavajan. The Vaishya is engaged in plowing the fields. So, what happens with the plow? The plow is attracted or pulled by the bull. So Krish means to attract. Na, basically two meanings in this particular context. Na means to negate the material energy, negate Maya or illusion, and also is short for Ananda. Ananda means bliss. Very nice. Ananda means bliss, such Ananda again. So by chanting the name Krishna, we can experience bliss. By love implies his love attracting designation, because we fall in love with Krishna. And this name of Krishna expressing his eternal nomenclature, that means his eternal name, there's a fancy word for name, as the acme, that means the pinnacle, the top of entity. He's the topmost entity. Entity means basically either persons or things. Amongst anything or any person, Krishna is the topmost. Next verse, sentence. His eternal, again eternal, beautiful. He's so beautiful that he looks at his own reflection in the body of water and wonders, who is this person? He is so wonderful. And so attractive. Krishna falls in love with you with himself. That's all right. That's not false ego. If someone has eternal, blissful, spiritual body, they can actually, and is the source of all sources, or the cause of all causes, then it's not false ego to fall in love with yourself, because you are the all-attractive person, Bhagawan, the qualities of Bhagawan. Heavenly, so that's a poetic word, of course, not so much referring to the heaven, but referring to, just like unbelievably beautiful, blue-tinged body. That means his body is like the bluish cloud. It's not like, I'm just looking for a blue object here. I can't find a blue object. It's not like blue paint that we normally see. It's like a darkish cloud that's tinged with blue. It's dark, but it has a tinge. I mean, it's slight. Tinge means slight. Glowing with the intensity. This is Krishna's manifestation. I'm trying to get away from saying that's his body. Because he is the body, there's no distinction. He's non-dual. Glowing with the intensity of ever-existing knowledge. Ooh, what an expression. Intensity. So something's intense. Just like I have a light here I had to cover, and it's very intense. But imagine something as intense, like Lord Chaitanya exhibited, like the intensity of tens of thousands or millions of suns when he went in to see the Mayavadis and Benares. So that's intense. That's what intensity means. It's so intense. It's overwhelming of ever-existing knowledge. And he has a flute in both his hands. And not that he has two flutes. He plays one flute, but he has two hands to play, because that's how you play a flute. And that's Krishna's instrument. Now you may ask, why does Krishna play a flute? I mean, what kind of stuff is this? Krishna plays a flute. And the only answer is, He desires to play the flute. Because when someone is the cause of all causes, there's no cause to his desires. My desires, your desires, all of our desires have a cause to them. Probably because of the way we were brought up with or by our parents. You know, why do I think a certain way? Why do I speak a certain way? I was brought up in a certain part of America, a certain accent, which I'm trying to get rid of, New York accent, but sometimes it comes out. Because I was brought, there's a cause. Why do I look like this? Genes of my parents. You know, sometimes I look at my face in the mirror. Not very often. Where's my mirror? You know, mirror, mirror on the wall. And I see the face of my father because that's a cause. My father, his genes, and my father's genes were caused by his father's genes. There's always a cause. Krishna is the cause of all causes. And so there's no cause to Krishna wanting to play a flute or playing the flute or doing anything he wants to do except for his desire to enjoy. He's the supreme enjoyer, and whatever he does is motivated by his desire to enjoy. That's all. That's what a pastime is. If I'm hungry, want to eat, the motivation is the bodily, whatever fluids that are going on, or my intestines, or a lack of glucose, whatever it is a cause. When Krishna eats, there's no cause except his own enjoyment and his desire to love and exchange love. Because Krishna enjoys that. He enjoys what? Exchanging love. So even when he's playing his flute, let's get back to the flute, he's exchanging loving mellows with the flute and with those who hear the flute, whether they're animate or inanimate entities, or whether they're the gopis. So he has the flute in both hands. Let's go to the next sentence. As his inconceivable spiritual energy is all extending, that means everywhere. Inconceivable means, basically. Still he maintains his all-charming medium size by his qualifying spiritual instrumentals. So by his internal potency, by his desire, everything is by desire because Krishna is up to kama, he gets what he desires. Krishna is able to, can't say able because he can do anything. Krishna desires anything. So even though his energies are everywhere, everything is Krishna's energy, his spiritual energies, and the expansions of Krishna's spiritual energies, which is the avidya karma sangyana. Still, he's medium size. So sometimes, people say that God cannot have a body or be his body or whatever, because that would be a limitation, right? That's a standard argument we get from people. That would limit God. So therefore he must be everything, everywhere, all over the place. And all over, not even all over the place, all over everything, anyway, whatever. And so that's not a very good argument, because if God is unlimited, he must have both aspects to his identity. Now, one aspect, of course, is the unlimited aspect, which is his energy, right? Anantarastam Parmanu Chayantarastam. So, and another aspect is he must also have his regular size. He must be localized in the spiritual world, of course. So he must be everything. If he's God, he has to have every single conceivable aspect to himself. Medium size, big size, extra large size. But as his original form, he is Govinda, medium size, by his qualifying spiritual instrumentals. That means his energies and by his desire. His energies are actually all first-class servants of Krishna. Okay, let's go on. His all-encompassing supreme subjectivity is nicely manifested in his eternal form. So in other words, even within Krishna's eternal form, for example, Mother Yashoda can look in his mouth and see the universes and Krishna. In other words, Krishna is inconceivable. He is all accommodating, that means everything. Supreme subjectivity, he's a person, he's a subject, not an object. He's the supreme subject, nicely manifested in his eternal form. So Krishna's eternal form is Satchidananda Vigraha. This is the same explanation. The concentrated all-time presence, that means he's beyond time. Okay. Krishna is beyond past, present, future. I've described this before, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is putting it into his very educated language. Uncovered knowledge, that means unlimited knowledge, and inebriating felicity, that means intoxicating happiness, have their beauty in him. So in other words, Krishna's attractiveness is his eternity, bliss, and knowledge, and Krishna's manifestations of his Bhagwan features. And so Krishna is all attractive. Again, to the point, Krishna, the all attractive personality of Godhead. The mundane, manifested portion of his own self is known as all-pervading Paramatma. In other words, that in this material world, mundane, in the material world, Krishna manifests himself as a portion of his portion. That means a portion of his portion of himself, and that's known as Paramatma. Paramatma, of course, is the super soul in everyone's heart. And also within this material world, we find manifest Paramatma as Ishvara and also as Vishnu, all fostering. And so therefore, Krishna is not in the material world, exactly what I said before. Hence it is evident, obvious, that Krishna is the sole, the only supreme Godhead. Because these other manifestations of Krishna, other expansions, even Vishnu Tattva expansions of Krishna, either deal with the material world or manifest less qualities than Krishna. As we know, Krishna in Vrindavan manifests this unlimited beauty that attracts even Krishna's other expansions, intimate pastimes, loving devotees, and plays the flute. His unrivaled, that's easy to understand, or unique spiritual body of super excellent charm, what a beautiful expression, is eternally unveiled, manifest again, unveiled or revealed. Let's say revealed would be a word we can use instead of unveiled. turning revealed were the numerable spiritual instrumentals. That's his senses, including his mind. Just like we have mind as one of these senses, intelligence, like that, and reckonable attributes, keeping their signifying location properly. In other words, reckon to understand. You can understand Krishna's attributes, they're unlimited. Keeping their, in other words, Krishna has, this is a little difficult, as keeping, Krishna keeps everything in order, adjusting at the same time, whoops, uh, adjusting at the same time by his inconceivable conciliative powers. In other words, Krishna, just to express in very simple language, Krishna, by his senses, which include his desires, attributes, and you can't separate any of Krishna's attributes from himself and his desire, keeps everything functioning conciliative. That means keeps everything functioning in cooperation with each other by his desire. All his energies keep functioning properly simply by his desire. Up to kama again. So we're going to take some questions, if anyone has any questions. And let me just mark where we left off so I know for tomorrow. Where is my pen? Pounds. All right. Okay, marked it. So let's stop sharing. Actually, I also took my glasses off. So, okay, hold on a second. Okay. Okay, let's allow you to unmute yourselves. Okay, who has a question here? Oh, we have Braja. Braja Lili have a question. Why don't you ask it? You can ask it now.
Hi, Krishna, please send my obeisances. Um, you had said that Krishna is only called Govinda and he's only considered Govinda when he's in
Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna calls Krishna Govinda at one point. So I
Yes,
was
because
wondering.
he recognizes that Krishna. Well, actually, there's two reasons. One, he recognized that Krishna was in Vrindavan and he was called Govinda. But Krishna, also another meaning of the word Govinda, that's actually a good question, means the pleaser of the senses. So when I use the word Govinda, it refers to Krishna and Vrindavan, but you can also use the word Govinda to mean someone who pleases the senses. Govinda and pleases the cows. And so Prabhupada comments in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna wanted Krishna to please his senses. So that's
Oh, okay.
another meaning of the word Govinda. But the direct meaning of the word Govinda is someone who pleases the senses, and it's only in Vrindavan. It's not that in Vishnu Loka they're calling Krishna Govinda. But Arjuna is also aware that Krishna was in Vrindavan and also aware of Krishna's name in Vrindavan. Okay?
He just wasn't in Vrindavan with him, so that was why I
No, he
was
wasn't in
confused.
Vrindavan with him. No, 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 no. But he was aware of it. He was a coward boy. And so, based on that, he was using the name, but also indicating that Krishna should please his senses. So, okay, good question. So, who else has a question here? Raise your hand and we can call on you. Okay. Okay, Madhava, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam Gurudev. So, when you were describing the medium size, so it is very kind of very intriguing. Why, of course, Sarva Karanam, and there is no cause. So obviously there is no question. So we have to accept that there must not be any question. If there is no, his cause of all causes, then where is question?
That's
That
right.
why anything be questioned about him? So, but when say Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami describing Arjun asking so much in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna has to convince him. So there are so many questions when he's cause of all causes and no cause beyond him. Then finished, everything is concluded. Why? Why?
That's,
So how to understand this? Why he chose then? And if this one can ask question, why then he chose medium size that is described? Why not large, extra large, as you were saying? So these things arise. Why?
why?
Obviously,
Why? Because he wanted to.
yeah, understand. Then what I'm saying that then there is no question. Why should one ask question if that is
Why
why
should
he's
one ask
beyond?
questions? Why should one ask questions? Because
Yeah,
Krishna enjoys that when we ask questions of him.
yeah.
But and also because we're in Maya, we need to ask questions. The the only question that your devotees ask in Vrindavan is, "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna?" Yeah, so
And that,
the
yeah.
questions and answers, and also
Mm,
devotees tadvidi pranipatena paripashnena sevyat. We can ask questions to understand the truth.
mm.
So, but yes, as far as the question, no question means there's no doubt. That's what the no question means. We can certainly ask Krishna questions. Why are you doing this? And but we should have no doubt because as Krishna says in the Gita, what is it? Shradana Purusha Dharmashasha Prantapa Prapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Those who don't have faith in me, they return to birth and death in the material world. But those who have faith, they can ask questions, but they just believe the answer. Like that Brahmin who asked Narada Muni, "What is Vishnu doing?" And Narada Muni said he's putting a camel
Elephant.
through an elephant through the eye of a needle. And he asked the question, but he said, "Oh, that's great." Whereas the Brahmin was told the same thing, and the Brahmin said, "It can't be done." So that is faithless. For those who don't have faith, they can't come to the spiritual reality, and Krishna says that in the Gita. Dharmasha, that Ashadana Purusha Dharmasha Parantapa, Aprapyamam, they can attain Krishna. They Mritu Samsara Varmani, they return to birth and death within this material world. So,
Yeah, it's some,
certainly
I have one more
we
question.
can
One
question,
more.
but we should not have doubts. That's the point.
Oh, yeah. So I have one more question. When we're reading at some point in the text, the purport, it says, Paramatma mundane. He pervades mundane form as
No, no,
Paramatma. Is
that's not what
Paramatma
he says.
mundane?
He doesn't say that. He says the Paramatma is actually meant for the mundane world. That's why
I,
we really have to unpack this. The mundane manifests a portion of his own self.
yeah,
If you take it one day one way, you may take it, well, it's mundane, but it's portion, mundane manifested portion is, in other words, he manifests it knowing the Siddhanta. We know that he manifests it for the mundane world. That's why it's important to unpack it, understanding the proper Siddhanta. The only Paramama is only in the material world. Paramama does not exist in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada would sometimes say, when you go to the spiritual world, you leave the Paramatma behind. So he's only in the material world. That's really important. I mean, same thing with Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Shiradakshay Vishnu. Of course, Shiradakshay Vishnu is the Paramatma. The same thing with Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He only manifests in this material world, not in the spiritual realm. That's why that's why it's important to understand the philosophy. That's why it's important to have it explained, because Paramatma is not mundane. He's non-different from Krishna. Advaita Chuta Nadi Runanta Rupam, which is a verse we'll get to. That means there's one God, but he appears in a variety of ways, and Paramatma is a Swamsa or Vishnu Tattva expansion of Krishna. Okay?
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, another question. Jai Radhika. Okay, that's the last question. Jai Radhika, you ask a question. You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances.
Send my blessings.
My question is about earlier in the class you said that like you were talking about how if something is real, then it lasts forever. It's like not
Yeah,
temporary.
that's right.
And I was just wondering, what if someone just argues that it's like just a matter of semantics, like we just have different definitions of the word real?
Not really. Oh, not really. That's funny. Uh, not really. I mean, if it was real, it's just logical. Like I mentioned, semantically or non-semantically, uh, where's my youthful body now?
Not here.
It's not real because
Oh,
it's not there. It's not there. Where's the body I had 1 minute ago?
hmm.
The river, the material world is endlessly mutable. It's endlessly changing. So where's the Ganges River right now? It's always changing. The river is flowing. Time is flowing. So you can't really
Okay, that
pin.
makes sense.
Yes, it's not just semantically. I mean, where is it? Where is that youthful body that I was trying to enjoy by skiing, by bungee jumping? What happened to that body? It ain't no. It's unreal because if it existed, it would be still here. Anyway, so that's our explanation. It's
Okay,
practical.
thank you.
Okay, we have to end class now because I have different things to do, different GBC meetings. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll try to continue tomorrow. All glories to Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.